Entanglement is basically a complicated, messy, and/or dysfunctional relationship that is difficult to change or even difficult to get out of. Now, the first sentence right away says complicated, messy, and dysfunctional, but also I think a lot of times we think when something is complicated, messy, or dysfunctional, it looks very outwardly messy and complicated. But the problem with a lot of entanglements is that you kind of can't tell. So some entanglements are very obviously dramatic and it's like, oh man, that's a trauma bond for sure, right? Like that's like, you just named that and you're just like, oh, it's like, you don't even think of entanglement. You're just like, oh yeah, that's a trauma bond. Like they're always on and off and they're always fighting and calling the cops on each other and throwing shit at each other. And then they're making up the next day and now they want to have a baby. That kind of stuff is like beyond an entanglement. You're like, man, that's just a trauma bond, right? And like, but a lot of times entanglements are complicated, messier, and dysfunctional. And it's difficult to change and get out of because you actually can't even tell. Because it's not that obvious. With that said, an entanglement can be an accidental tryst or a prolonged codependent relationship that won't end. They can be complicated, hard to notice, or they can be very obvious. Okay, so again, I just want to make sure that we understand that there's no one size fits all of how an entanglement looks. This is why doing our work is key, because you have to build that awareness, you have to build that discernment, and you have to know yourself so well so that you know when you are out of integrity. Full stop. Entanglements can happen with not just romantic partners, but they can also happen with friendships. They can happen with coworkers, family members, your managers, all kinds of dynamics. They can happen in small ways. They can happen in big ways. Why is it so easy to get entangled? Healthy and conscious relationships require everyone involved to be emotionally mature, self-aware, and radically responsible. Most of us are still developing basic self-awareness, let alone emotional maturity and radical responsibility. So you involve yourself with another person who's not doing the work, and you're very likely to get into an entanglement. We are relational people at the core. We desire to be loved, accepted, seen, and to belong more than anything in the world. So it's way too easy to gravitate towards any relationship, interaction, or situation that will fulfill that need. First things first, you don't feel settled, secure, easy, and at peace in the relationship. There's always something gnawing, even if you have those rushes, even if you have those moments where you're like elated and it feels so great, the minute you're on your own, the minute you have a minute to yourself, the minute they leave your house, the minute you have your first weekend by yourself, you start to feel that unease. Another sign that you are in an entanglement, there are no real and honest conversations, lots of walking on eggshells. The relationship feels one-sided. One person is clearly more invested, or one person clearly is into the other person more, whether you're clearly more into the other person and you're constantly trying to see if they'll like you back, or the other person is clearly more into you and you're kind of like, you're not really into them, but you're kind of stringing them along because the attention feels real good. Definitely an entanglement, 1000%. There is a lack of honesty, trust, transparency, and integrity. One or both feels like a victim in the relationship. There's this sense that like you're in the relationship, but you feel victimized by the person that you're in the relationship with, and you hold that over their head. There's this victimization. Both people feel like a victim, and it's like, but you're still in the relationship. And so there's this resentment, and there's always this victimhood. There's always this like victim story. Like, I'm a victim of this relationship. Look at this person that I'm in this relationship with. You know, your dad this, your mom this, but they're together. So this relationship has so much victim consciousness in it, yet you're still in it. The entire thing is just like this entangled victim consciousness relationship. Let's move on. You're staying in for the wrong reasons. Kids, work, money, reputation. I thought it was really important for me to put reputation in here because I think a lot of times this is a huge part of why people stay in for the wrong reasons, right? What are other people going to think? We've enmeshed our friend groups now. right? And it's all these other external factors, right? Like what's going to happen? What are your friends going to think about me? What are my coworkers going to think about me? Oh, this image, everyone thinks that we have this perfect marriage and now that's all going to come crumbling. They're going to realize that there was trouble in paradise this whole time. It's like, okay, so you're going to stay in an entanglement for the rest of your life then? Because you're worried about what this guy that you see once a year thinks? That's a real thing. My snarky response to that is that's why you don't get in an entanglement in the first place. And then you don't have to worry about these things, because instead of staying for the wrong reasons, don't get in. Don't get in if you think you're going to jeopardize these things. Have that foresight. Let's keep going. You keep trying to leave and end up back in bed with them. There is an overemphasis on sex, whether you are fighting about it or having it. So let me expand on this. The relationship is very much all about sex. There's an overemphasis on it. It clearly revolves around hooking up. It clearly revolves around that. And that is the only thing you have. And then when that starts to fizzle out, a lot of times what will happen is then you fight about it all the time. And then it can escalate to level 3, where you're either fighting about it all the time or having it all the time, and you're just oscillating between the two, or some varying flavor of that, when there is no relationship without the sex. And so that also becomes a focal point of the arguments and the fights and the problems as well. This one's a really, really important one. All of a sudden, there are multiple people involved and impacting your peace in the relationship. Now, this can show up in many, many ways. This can be everything from your in-laws to your friend groups, to old lovers, to people that you're competitive with, coworkers. It could be anything. But all of a sudden, your problems in the relationship also involve other names. Your fights with your partner now involve multiple people. Your fights now are entangled with what you did, with what the other person did, how the other person impacted your relationship, how you can't say no to the other person, how there's all these different players, how there's all these different storylines starting to come into yours. This one's, we've all been here. This is very, very simple one. These were in no particular order. You feel like you have to stay in the relationship so you don't hurt their feelings. When you see it on paper, it looks ridiculous. But when you're in it, it's really hard. There was a time that was good, and you keep holding on to that. And these are all related to each other, right? That there was that time that was good, so you keep holding on to the past. And then there's also that waiting for it to get better. And a lot of times they usually go together. There was a time that was good. It can get better. It can get better. We're going through a phase right now. It was like, I know who this person is. I know that's not him. And it's like, dude, that person was trying to get in your drawers back then. That's all that was. This is actually who he is. This is actually who they are, right? You're going through the motions and you know it. This is real. We've all been there. You've all been there. You know what I'm talking about. You have a gut feeling you might be settling in the relationship. And you know, every time anybody that did get out of a relationship where you felt like you might have been settling, you knew that you were. So listen to that gut. Listen to your gut feeling. Again, I say that you might be in an entanglement if you have this gut feeling, because it's like, then what are you staying in it for then? There are other reasons. There's other fears. There's other things wrapped up into it. These are some kind of more surface level symptoms to look out for. This obsessive need to be together or know what the other is up to at all times. This is kind of an obvious one, very obvious. You know, you need to be together all the time. You need to know what each other is doing. There's a lot of insecurity, a lot of anxiety around that. That's pretty obvious. But then there's like another level to this where you also want to control how the other person perceives you. And so when it comes to this, you jump through a lot of hoops. There's a lot of just shenanigans and orchestrating to control how not only the person that you're in an entanglement perceives you, but all the surrounding people as well. Maybe it's this person and their friends. Maybe it's this person and their family, and then their cousins, and then their friend group, and their coworkers. And you're always kind of trying to orchestrate and control and create storylines and create perceptions and create this narrative around how the other side perceives you. So it doesn't just have to be the other person, but it's the entire other side, right? Because when you get into a relationship or an entanglement with someone, it comes with that person and all their people. You know, you don't want to be with them long term, but you keep them around anyway. You use each other for validation, for self-esteem booster, for sex, for feel goods, all around. There is a form of dependence, whether it's emotional, financial, sexual, validation, or boredom. And I want us to look at this from both perspectives, okay? A lot of times we stay in entanglements, not because they provide these things for you, but because you feel a sense of power because you are providing it for them. This is where it gets really twisted, because now there's extra layers to this, because now you feel a sense of power and you don't want to give up that power. Not only am I dependent on this person for money, love, sex, whatever, but now it's like I hold that over their head. So I feel a sense of power. And so without this, then I feel powerless. You're like double lined in dysfunction. So with that said, obviously it feels complicated. Okay. If it feels complicated, it's complicated, right? I mean, it's really simple. If you feel like your relationship is complicated, you're probably in an entanglement. Remember, healthy, conscious relationships should feel easy. So if it feels complicated, if it feels full of drama and it requires a lot of work to feel at peace, it shouldn't have to be so much work. I think we've been fed a lot of lies about how a real relationship, they've been through some shit and they worked so hard to get to where they are. And that's why they're so strong. I don't really agree with that. Yes, of course, there's always going to be stuff for couples to work through. And I do believe that relationships are a spiritual path, no doubt, 100%. And it requires hard conversations. It requires honesty and vulnerability. That's not what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about work. Okay. I'm not talking about the kind of work that should be done, right? That's like good, healthy, proper work. I'm talking about the kind of relationships that require hours of processing and conversations. You know what I'm talking about? No, you can't leave. You're not leaving until we figure this out. Hours crying for hours, 5 hours later, still talking, still sitting, still sulking, still crying, still talking. On the flip side, there's urgency. There's a sense of urgency within the relationship. You need the other person to do something right now. They need to take action right now. They need to change right now. It's like there's this urgency, right? Where like you need this other person to change. They need to take action. You need to know what it is. They need to go change this thing right now. It's like, dude, you might be in an entanglement. The relationship doesn't feel equal, full stop. And I think we can end on this one. Now that we've gone through so many different signs, let's talk quickly about why we stay stuck. Let's talk about why we stay stuck in the entanglement in the first place, now that we talked about all of our signs and symptoms. Okay, plain and simple, the entanglement is serving the unresolved wound. So remember, at the end of the day, we can literally say this about everything. Your anger serves the wound. Your shadows serve the wound. Your dysfunctions serve the wound, all of them, all of your addictions, all of the ways that you play out things, all of that serves the wound. Trauma bonds serve the wound. Your victim consciousness serves the wound. All of that, at the end of the day, just simply put, all of your dysfunctional behaviors serve the wound. Very, very simple framework to use. In that same way, the entanglement is serving the unresolved wound. Think about that, right? You stay in the entanglement because you have a wound around you being good enough and being accepted by your family once you get married. For example, you stay in the entanglement because it serves your wound around being good enough and lovable. All of our entanglements serve a wound. It serves our wounds around proving it, letting everybody know how worthy I am. Look at how valuable I am. I'm lovable. I'm lovable. Somebody wants me. Somebody needs me. I'm worthy. And that's just that stuff. But then there's other unresolved wounds that could go into so many flavors: social class, race, status, cultural stuff. It goes on and on and on and on. And I've experienced it. I see it happen all the time. It's a real thing. To go a little bit deeper, the entanglement in serving the unresolved wound, not only does it solve the unresolved wound, but oftentimes we stay in entanglements because you're trying to fix the wound. This will make me feel better. So it's the same thing. By me staying in this relationship, this fixes my wound of never feeling loved. This fixes my wound of not feeling desirable. This is what's going to make me feel better. This is what's going to make all of my loneliness, self-esteem stuff feel better. You're also trying to prove a wound. See, all y'all fucked up. Look at this ring I got now. Look at this is like 3 carats. Look how awesome I am. None of y'all wanted me, but this one, you know how much this ring costs? See, that's a real thing. You are playing out a wound. Well, this is what happened to me. This is what happened to me. This is what I saw my parents do. I mean, like, whatever. This is how it happened to me. Like, what's the big deal? Like, I've been cheated on before. Like, it's fine. You might not even be consciously thinking that, but this is what happened to me. And now I'm playing it out too. Sometimes it's not even conscious. You're playing out a wound because it's what happened to you. And it's like you're trying to process that. You end up in the same place. All right. The justification of the wound. This is my favorite. Well, it's because I have abandonment issues. It's because I have codependency. I can't get out, really. That's why you have to stay in this for 5 more months. Well, it's because I just feel chosen and he just makes me feel so needed. Okay, so just indefinitely, you just want me to just check back in with you 6 months later, see if you've justified the wound long enough? Or I got to stay in this to work on my relationship wounds? Well, like, I don't know, like I keep on going back and forth with this person, but I think I should stay in this because, they're really teaching me how to sit with my discomfort. You're trying to numb out a wound. You're trying to numb out a wound. I'm doing great. Look at me. I'm in a relationship. I'm dating. I'm fine. I'm great. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm doing great. I'm fine. I'm doing great. Oh my God, I'm doing so great. I've been dating. Oh my God, yeah, I'm so great. Yeah, I started seeing someone. Yeah, it's cool. Like, I'm not really sure. Like, it's cool. Like, yeah, like, it's great. It's doing good. Yeah, it's good. Oh, sounds like you really like this guy. And then similarly, you're trying to avoid feeling a wound. Here's what I mean by this, okay? Instead of, let's say, processing your last relationship, actually healing from your last breakup, actually feeling into your grief, managing your burnout, and doing the work that needs to be done to actually heal some shit that you've been through recently, instead, you get into an entanglement and call it an opportunity. Well, I mean, yeah, like, I was supposed to be single and like whatever, but then like, I just wasn't expecting it. And just like this opportunity just found me. It was like, I don't know, it's just like in a spin class and he just like sat next to me and like one thing led to another. And like, here we are. I'm fine. What? And then last but not least, you don't even know that you're serving. I'm just fun. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, have fun. Go ahead. You don't even know. Like you're just like again glazing it all over. Like whatever. I'm just having fun. I'm just having fun right now. Like whatever. I'm just having fun. Like I just got out of a 7-year relationship. I'm just having fun. Oh, that's my favorite. Oh my God, I just got out of like a 10-year divorce. I'm just having fun right now. Really? Great. I hope you're having a great time. Like for sure. Okay. Now, I'm not against you having fun. But getting into an entanglement is a whole nother mess, right? The problem is that you end up in an entanglement, but then you think you're just having fun until that fun entanglement is year in deep. And all of a sudden you're paying for his college tuition. What? Like, how did we end up here? And I know this sounds absurd, but it happens. It happens. Let's talk about the difference between an entanglement versus an affair. Entanglements are usually a lot more open and known. So with that said, entanglements are usually way more open. Like it's like very obvious, like you tell your friends about it, like, oh, well, I kind of started talking to this guy. It's kind of a little complicated, but whereas affairs are usually kept in secret and they're more hidden from someone. Entanglements can go on for years, disguised as a real relationship, whereas affairs are usually short-lived, fleeting, right? Like you're not going to be in like a 5-year affair, right? You're going to be like in a 5-year entanglement, but you're not really going to be in like a 5-year affair per se. Entanglements can pull other people into the relationship, whereas affairs usually pull people apart. Why? Because now you got to be in secret. You got to like remove yourself. Like, oh, I can't make it to this thing because you got to go and like meet this guy behind everyone's back. Let's actually talk about how to get out. I'm in an entanglement. I don't know how to get out. It feels messy. My emotions are all tangled up in it. I'm all in my head about it. What do I do? So just like with anything that we really struggle with, I really think that it's important to just start with awareness and acknowledgement. A lot of times if you're in denial about something, if you're in denial about anything, like you're just not going to make progress, right? This is also why we're all about like not walking on eggshells anymore and just calling things out, from the jump so that you could actually move forward, right? If the elephant is in the room and no one's talking about it, then like nothing can actually move forward. So first things first, just start with that awareness and just be honest with yourself. And just be like, yeah, like I'm kind of in a mess and I'm having a hard time getting out. and I recognize that I am in an entanglement. That in itself is so empowering. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's like step one of owning it. Then from there, after the awareness and acknowledgement, there has to be a desire to genuinely want to get out. It's a little black and white in that sense, right? It's like you either want to get out or you don't, right? Because if you say like, okay, like I for sure want to get out, then that's it, right? But if you're still kind of like, well, yes and no, like you're still in it, right? And you're not going to get out of it. You're never going to get out of an entanglement until you are genuinely like, yes, hard yes, I want to get out. So until you are that hard yes, you're not going to get out, right? And I know that may sound kind of like, it's very black and white, but it is black and white. You're either going to get out or you're not, right? I mean, that's why it's called an entanglement. So there has to be a personal desire to genuinely want to get out of this situation. And then once you feel like you are ready to genuinely get out, then you just have to focus on yourself and worry about your own healing process, because a lot of the reasons why you don't leave an entanglement is because you're worried about all of these like external factors and all of your stories and your narratives, right? Here's what ends up happening. Oh, well, I don't want to hurt their feelings. And like, oh, well, like, what about this? And what if I can't have fun for a while? And there's all these other like things about you're like worried about. And it's like, are you worried about you like not getting laid for the next year? Or are you worried about your healing process? And I'm being dead serious. Like, it's really that simple, right? Like when like think about it like that, like it's really that black and white. Like when you can look at it like that, it's actually very sobering. Just focus on yourself and worry about your own healing process. Like now, with that said, let's talk about entanglements where you think the other person is the problem. Stop expecting the other person to be better. You got to be better. Leave if you can't stand this person. Leave if they're so difficult. If you don't like them so much, then leave. It's not fair. Have a plan and stick to it. Communicate, set expectations. You got to stick to it, y'all. Because remember, the headline here is how to get out. So if you make a plan and you don't stick to it, you're not getting out. Really simple. Really simple. So if you want to get out of an entanglement, have a plan and stick to it. Communicate and set those expectations. And what does that mean? Expectations are like, let's not talk to each other for the next 6 weeks. I don't think friendship is like in the cards for us right now. Please don't contact me moving forward. Like I don't want to receive contact from you again. Like you have to set those expectations and you have to communicate that, because the thing about entanglements are that they always want to pull you back in. That's what makes an entanglement an entanglement. If otherwise you would just like not get entangled, right? And so you have to have a plan, you have to stick to it. And it's the same thing even with your clients, even with people that you work with. You have to have a plan and stick to it. You can't say that these are my office hours and go over. You can't say this is what comes with your agreement and give them more.